Marahaba.
Asante. So, gentlemen, Tanzania is facing one of its most serious political crises since independence, with rising tensions around elections, increased centralization of power, and a new generation pushing back against old political norms. So today, I'd really appreciate if we could explore some of the roots of these legacies and how the youth movements, which are being mirrored as well in Kenya and Uganda across East Africa, are reshaping the region, and what Tanzania's current turmoil tells us about the future of democracy in East Africa. Where I'd love to bring Professor Kadero. This legacy of, as we know, Mwalimu Nyerere, where a lot of us are looking back, trying to figure where these roots of the kind of difficulties and challenges there, being that he had a very noble, idea, and it has, created almost an island of peace for so long. But there's some challenges that we're now seeing because of a lot of the influences of the kind of, unilateral kind of shaping of Tanzania's kind of political culture. So, Professor Kadero, I'd love for you to kind of jump in there, kind of bringing in your perspective and the roots of how you see it as well.
Thank you so much, Philip, and thank you, Dr. Akhtar. I think it's a wonderful illustration of a much more boisterous history of Tanzania and why it's an island of peace, as Philip said earlier, but also sort of like the origin story of some of the things that we see today with regards to nation building and nation creation. So, as with regards to Mwalimu Nyerere, he's a wonderful scholar. One of the more esteemed founding leaders after leaders of decolonization and founding leaders of independent states after decolonization. So he's way up there, way above his peers. He wasn't shy of projecting his vision and crafting sort of a different articulation of what development meant. At the time when most of the decolonizing African states were either choosing to follow scripts written mostly by European powers as to how the countries will be governed, Nyerere said he wanted a fundamentally African-led thought process of how to create a nation. And Nyerere was kind of motivated by the Maoist Marxist regime in China, less so with the Soviets, but he thought like Tanzania had a lot in common with China at the time, both multi-ethnic, but with an influential ethnic groups that were dominant. But with regards to creating a state, Nyerere realized that he had to destroy ethnicity, as you said. And one way to do this was to create these villages that he called Ujamaa, and family as the framework of developmental economics, but also political, social reordering of society. So on one hand, there was this creation of an economy based on what he called African socialism, which was different from European socialism, in the sense that it was focused on kinship. And if these kinships were kind of loosening as a result of colonial enterprise, he wanted to reignite them and make them forceful. So that's one part. The second part of it was creating a political system that allowed for competition without multi-party system. So unlike other one-party states at the dawn of independence in Africa, in the case of Tanzania under Julius Nyerere, there was competition within the party. So it was like a very interesting political climate within TANU and later on CCM, where you pretty much had all the hallmarks of democratic competition without multi-party. It was not a guarantee that you would win a seat. And Nyerere often had prop-up candidates just to create an idea of competition. So TANU was institutionalized with regards to competitive politics, but also TANU was spread around the country in such a way that at the time that it turned into CCM, it had cells pretty much in every part of the country, from Zanzibar, southern Tanzania, northern Tanzania, in every part, in the towns and in the villages, in the cities and all the places, to the point that at some point, the party was more present in people's lives than the state. So there's this idea of institutionalization and restructuring of the economy and creating a political economy based on kinship that Nyerere fostered in Tanzania. Now, there are certain good things that come, as you already said earlier, Dr. Hector, which is the idea of national unity that was very present in Tanzania, nation building as a project, but building an economy kind of took a backstage a little bit because the ideological positions that Nyerere took costed a lot. They cost a lot of money, and they had to prioritize nation building and later on build an economy. So if you look at the economic data at the time in the 60s, you realize Tanzania was way ahead of other East African peers. But by 1966, some of the countries like Kenya and Uganda had surpassed it with regards to economic production because Nyerere was busy building a nation. So I just wanted to leave it there because we have a whole